Oh yeah, no, that was amazing for a lot of different reasons. I mean, it was in Los Angeles, so you had a big crowd. You had to energize. You had a crowd that appreciated WrestleMania, especially in LA, the entertainment aspect of it. And then working with Nick Dinsmore again, Nick was the guy who first started training me. My first lesson in OVW, it was Nick Dinsmore. So to be out there with Nick was amazing. And then to have Hulk Hogan come out, and Hogan was always good to me. I mean, a lot of things have happened since then, but man, he was always very warm and welcoming. He'd come up behind me and what's up, brother, and give me a big bear hug and lift me up, which, I mean, I'm not exactly the giant, but I'm not a tiny guy. And for Hogan, he's be able to just pick me up like I was a feather. Um, but it was amazing because to stand in that ring and hear the crowd respond to Hogan and to know that I was a part of that and to be a part of that is something that I'll never forget. And it is definitely something to hang on my mantle. But the whole experience in WrestleMania in general, and then the Raw after that was Shawn Michaels when we started that whole feud with Shawn, and eventually Hogan joined in, and we had our match in Boston, that tag match. It was just it was a highlight, if not the highlight of my career, to say that I was in a WrestleMania with Hulk Hogan. I mean, I got my ass kicked, but you know what? I'll take an ass kicking for that any day of the week.
And I got to tell you, Mark, John and I were both in the crowd at MSG that night for the Hulk Hogan return. It was the first time he had come back to Madison Square Garden since he had been inducted into the Hall of Fame. And we mentioned it to Shawn when we had Shawn on, and we even talked about it with the coach when we had the coach on not too long ago. And it's something that I'll never forget. Literally, the roof nearly blew off of Madison Square Garden when that music hit, and you were in the ring. Tell us what you remember about that night when that literally, even Shane McMahon was in the crowd going nuts. The roof nearly came off the arena of Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because that's exactly what I say. That is exactly what I say when I tell this story. Probably too much is that I learned the meaning of the expression "blew the roof off the place" because that's what it felt like standing in the middle there. It felt like you were rising off the mat, and it was so loud. I mean, first of all, I had a pretty good match with Shawn, and Shawn Michaels is one of the most amazing people to work because he is one of those guys that is where you want him to be or where you need him to be before you even think you need him to be there. Shawn is so amazing as a worker that it's effortless to work with Shawn Michaels. So I had a pretty good match, which I was pumped about, and I knew Hogan was coming out. When Hogan came out, it was so freaking nuts that it felt like the roof was going to blow off MSG, and it felt like Shawn Daivari and I were literally rising off of the mat in the center of MSG, in the center of the ring. And then Hogan comes down, and I mean, I met Hogan. I've worked with Hogan. I knew it was going to happen, but I was marking out the whole fucking time. Excuse my language. The whole goddamn time I was marking out. And I think I still have the picture. I think it was at MSG of Hogan and I shaking hands after that. That's still in my father's office, and I still have it as well. But oh, it was awesome. I mean, you can't beat that. And I'm from New York too, so I had a lot of friends and family in the crowd. I mean, to be a part of that and to be able to work with someone like Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan, um, I don't know. I mean, how many people have ever tried to be a wrestler, and how many get to say that? So that is something I'm incredibly proud of.
Been to dozens of shows at MSG, and that one by far. I mean, it was absolutely unbelievable, the experience. And one of the funny stories I always tell about it is going to the restroom. Not too shortly after that, there was a gentleman in there who was pouring cold water on his face because he had just felt the power of Hulkamania once again. And I kid you not, he was like, "Wow, wow, dude, I can't believe he was here. It was unbelievable." And John and I were sitting with my cousin and my uncle, and my uncle said felt like he was going deaf, and that the explosion was bigger than the Beatles, is what he said. So if that
Yeah,
goes to
I'm
tell
sure
you.
that guy went home and said his prayers and took his vitamins that night.
Absolutely. But again, it led to a huge program for you and Shawn Daivari, obviously against Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan. And obviously they were starting to build that feud with Hulk and Shawn Michaels, which would be, a whole nother story. for the end of the summer. But, when that's all going down and you're working with two, at that point, a borderline Hall of Famer in Shawn Michaels, and then obviously Hogan, who had just gone in the Hall of Fame, do you feel the pressure from management? Do you feel Vince giving you more of that, that specific role of, look, these are like one of the biggest stars and the biggest star we've ever created, but we trust you two to get in there and have a good match with them? Did you feel the pressure from Vince taking on that role against Hogan and Shawn Michaels?
Yeah, you know what? You definitely do, because at that time, I believe I was 25 or 24, and Davari and I were cutting promos backstage. We were cutting promos in the ring. Then we were wrestling a match. I mean, at the time, Raw was 2 hours and 15 minutes, and we were like 30 minutes of it. So it is a lot of pressure to have the weight of the company on you and to be carrying that kind of heat, because, like I said before, that was real heat. But you know what? At the same time, working with someone like a Shawn Michaels, and I can run the gamut of lists because I was blessed with who I had to work with or who I got to work with. You feel at ease because they take care of you, and they're such professionals, and they're so amazing. And Hulk Hogan, obviously, they're so amazing in the ring. They know exactly what to do to work the crowd. That, yeah, you feel that pressure, but once that match starts, you're calm, man. You trust that those guys are going to take care of you, and no matter how bad you screw up, they're going to be able to cover it, fix it, and make you look good while they do it.